Okay, so first, I'm going to introduce Nico here because, like, Nico has a really cool channel, and he does a lot of stuff for different topics, I guess, in astrophotography that don't get covered very much, like narrowband, of course, and a couple of different pieces of software, Siral and so forth for the Mac. But yeah, he's been a big contribution to the astrophotography community, and here we are at NEAF. Okay, so
Thanks, Ben. Yeah. So, and right before NEAF, the 2 days before every year is NIAK. And so I was just at NIAK talking about Siral and doing a workshop because to me, Siral is like this sort of sleeper agent in terms of astrophotography processing software, and that like a lot of people aren't using it yet, but it's so good, especially in the last like year or so. They've just been adding so much cool stuff to it.
I know. I really wish though that like the interface wasn't as convoluted though, because I feel like sometimes I go forward and I go back a tab and I go forward a tab and I go back a tab. It's not like I know DSS had a really nice process. I know Pixin site is probably a nightmare.
And actually, I just found something for Siral. Have you used Cyrillic?
No.
Okay, so Cyrillic is just like DSS.
Okay.
In that it has, you can basically just add your files manually. You can do multi-night sessions. You can do registering like multiple filters, and so
cool.
It's really cool. Yeah, you need to get it. And for the longest time, I didn't know it was available for Mac, and I'm mostly a Mac user, and so but I just figured out it's not that hard to install a Mac. Really cool.
Yes, I'm a Mac user too. Actually, that was why I started my channel. Was I was like first off, I didn't see any content out there for Olympus cameras, and then secondly, I saw very little for the Mac, and very little for narrowband, and so that's why I made my channel. You know, so there we go. There's a little bit of it about us. So yeah, that's the difference between NEAK and NEIF. Now NEIF, like, okay, what would be like a couple things that you would?
Yeah, so I can explain. So NEAK stands for Astro Imaging Conference. So it's like just about the imaging side. Well, NEIF is everything astronomy. So there's a lot of visual people that will go to NEIF too. A lot of solar observers. There's a solar imaging like viewing party that's really nice there on the lawn every time. But then it just has anything astronomy related, like astronomy clothing, astronomy prints, astronomy books, everything. So
Now, NEAK, where is that held? It's held in the same town, right?
Yeah, it's just like it's within just like a few miles of NEIF. NEIF is at Rockland Community College, and NIAK is at the Crown Plaza Hotel.
Yeah, so NEIF itself, of course, it's held on a campus, and basically on the basketball stadium is where the main floor is. Where this is like the trade show for astronomy. Okay, so like it works just like a trade show. You've been to trade shows. I actually do trade shows for a living, and you know, pretty much every single product, and a lot of companies will wait for NEIF to release new stuff. And so I guess that's what we'll kind of get into next, right?
Yeah, I think it's probably the biggest astronomy trade show in the world, right?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I know they have them in like Germany, the UK, Japan, probably China now, but I think this is the biggest. And manufacturers from China like ZWO and all of these big brands that you know will come to this one and send like their top brass, like their CEOs, everyone, and you can ask them questions directly. Like, and it's especially interesting about the new products, of course, because then like you can be the first couple people that find out some details about a new product. And like Ben was good last year about like sharing some of those details like right on the channel. So it's like, even if you don't come to NEAF, if you watch YouTube, you'll see like news about these products right away.
Yeah. And here's something else, like let's say if you have an idea or you want a feature set, NEAF is a great place to come and hound those guys, if you will, about, you know, your pet peeve, you know, feature or product or whatever that you want to see kind of come out, you know. So yeah, that's, and then we got anything else?
Let's see. So they also have feature presentations like keynote addresses and stuff. And so last year they had Alyssa Pagan from STSCI, which is a part of it was sort of affiliated with NASA, but it's the group that does the processing for like the Hubble Space Telescope and the James Webb Space Telescope. And I loved that keynote because Alyssa showed how they actually process the James Webb imagery, and they were using all the same tools as us. And I've had comments being like, when I show like you can download James Webb images and process them in Photoshop, people be like, that's not scientific, that's not how they do it, but it is. And if you come to events like this, if you're really into astronomy, you get all this sort of background knowledge of how things actually happen.
Yeah, I know. Like being the narrowband channel, I think like the biggest thing that I like to kind of like emphasize to people is that yes, the Hubble palette isn't natural color, okay, but what it is it's a scientific description of chemically what is going on in the universe. And as you like look at SHO images and you kind of learn about how the physics works and everything, you can like look at a picture that's SHO and kind of see what's going on in space and see kind of like the story of this particular nebula or this galaxy or whatever, you know, or this dark cloud of dust. You know, what's it doing? Why is it there? And why is it shaped like that? And that's kind of the cool thing about, you know, that's my narrowband spill.
Yeah, I think of like planetary nebula, and when you realize like what's going on there and how it always has that sort of O3 in the center, and then the S2 and HA are this ring around it, and you start thinking about that, and that's a great thing. Yeah, it tells the story with narrowband imagery.
Yeah. So I guess like as far as conferences go, I think the one that was the most impactful for me, besides the Pluto one, with you know that was really impressive to see. But I think there was a girl, I can't remember her name now, but she did a thing about seamstress, and I think she's speaking here again. Basically sewing for NASA. Okay, and I did not realize this, but basically the entire skin of the shuttles, the space shuttles, was actually fabric, okay, because that was a very lightweight, temperature-resistant material that they could create that, you know, could be replaced and repaired quickly and efficiently as they were sending those things back up multiple times. And so, yeah, like she showed pictures of these really cool sewing machines from Germany with these big long needles, and just like my mind was kind of blown that like, oh yeah, like sewing in space rocks.
That totally makes sense to me that was like your favorite because you're so into like machinery and how things are made. Yeah. That totally tracks.
So I guess let's talk a little bit about some of the products that we've kind of seen that are coming out, because obviously ZWO has integrated the ASI Air into a camera now, which I believe, are they doing both a duo and a regular single sensor version?
No, I've seen it. Yeah, it's just the duo with, and the integrated ASI Air is a mini. At first, I saw some advertisement that sort of suggested it was the Plus, but I got confirmed it is the mini inside there, and there's no wired data connection, right? So you can't connect it with a wired data connection to your PC, but ZWO told me that you can connect with an ASCOM driver and Alpaca over Wi-Fi. Okay. So you still should be able to do Windows PC control if you want to.
Yeah. I don't really know much about what many of the other manufacturers are coming out with. I know, was it Skywatcher came out with a couple new mounts?
Yeah, I can describe them real quick. Yeah. So Skywatcher is going to have a Wave 100 and a Wave 150, two harmonic drive mounts. We've all sort of known that was probably coming, because their Skywatcher mounts are a big category, right? And they needed something, I think, to compete with the ZWO AM3 and AM5, which is what these are sort of, I think, geared at. The smaller one can do, I think it's like 22 pounds without a counterweight, and the bigger one can do something like 33 or 34.
Okay. Yeah. The harmonic drives I think they're kind of the future, really. I mean, they're. I noticed that mine bucks the wind really good because there's no backlash whatsoever in the gears, and I know a lot of people have complained like, well, what about that really lightweight tripod? I was like, well, you can put it on a pier, you know. So, and I was actually hoping for an AM7 this year, but I don't know if we'll see that. We haven't seen an indication for it. Now, the Sea Star, it's inevitable. Okay, there's going to be a replacement for the C-Star, and maybe a bigger and or a smaller one.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably going to do both. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't call it a replacement. I think they're trying to make a lineup, basically. Yeah. So it's like if people wanted a smaller one and they could, it'd be easier to travel with, or if they want the bigger one so they can do, just reach further. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. Bigger amount for me, because at least that's on my to-do list, because I would like to do a 3 identical scopes, 3 mono cameras with SHO. Mm-hmm. That's actually something that's becoming very popular now. I'm seeing more and more people do it. It used to be something that was, only people who were working scientifically were doing this kind of stuff. And now we're seeing lots and lots of people start to do it because the software course is coming out that's it's supporting it better and so forth. And I guess that brings up, okay, in software, what do you think is a category that's probably the most lacking that we could stand to see some development in?
Putting me on the spot. What do I think? Software. I'm not a huge software guy. I will admit that I'm still using like a very old version of Sequence Generator Pro just because I have that sort of muscle memory. And everyone tells me like you have to learn Nina, and I agree with them. I really want to do it, but like it's just hard for me to just want to put in that time to learn a new piece of software. But I say that, but then I'm always trying out the new processing software. So I don't know what I'm saying. Maybe it's just capture software. I have this block and I'm just like, I'm used to what I'm used to. But with the processing software, I'm always trying out anything that comes out new. I don't know. What do you think? What do you see as a missing?
I think planetary stacking software.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because right now, I mean, you can barely throw 1080p at a lot of this stuff, and it will break down, like even with 1080p files.
So actually, I have something about that. Yeah. So Richard Wright at NEAK was saying, so the sort of the gold standard for planetary stacking software is like AutoStackert, and then some people go AutoStackert, then Registax. There's not really anything. You can do planetary and Siral on Mac, but it's not like. That's not like its strength. Richard Wright was saying he's developing it was a planetary capture software, but I think he was saying he was going to do stacking in it too. Yeah. But anyways, I think it's called Sorcerer's Apprentice, and he's got it working on Mac. And I think if you reach out to him about it, Richard Wright, he'll let you download it, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Have you ever used Link EOS?
I've tried it. I don't think it works on the newer Macs anymore. I think it was like an older application that they probably stopped development on. So
the guy who does it did a couple updates last year, at the very end of last year, and I can say it actually does run pretty good. I've even been able to throw some pretty heavy files at it, but still, I mean, it's a nice, easy piece of software to use, Link EOS, but it lacks a lot of features, okay? And that's kind of where I think planetary stacking photography could kind of use some help is in the processing end of things, because almost all of them are written for older types of computer hardware, and they don't recognize or utilize all the multi-cores and multi-caches that these new computers use. And so when you throw a big, like if you tried to throw a 4K video file at, AutoStackert, it just won't do it. So that's why I would like to see planetary, because I like planetary. It's easy and it is fun to do,
Yeah, one thing I want to get into is using the planetary cameras, but going after bright DSOs with them, and that Siral would really work well with, because Siral does all the multi-core, threaded processing and all that kind of stuff. Lucky imaging for the Dumbbell Nebula or the Crab Nebula or something like that.
And sensors. This is kind of my area of expertise. The readout noise level. I mean, we're going to see it drop more and more at time, and lucky imaging is kind of going to be something that will be, I think, the primary thing that we'll all be doing eventually.
Yeah,
You know, because
and it's an interesting time too. I was, it's like, what do you count as lucky imaging? Like, is the sea star almost lucky imaging? I know that's 10-second exposures. Some people say like lucky imaging is only when you're like really trying to beat the seeing with like, under a second. But I think that even if you are doing like 5-second or 10-second exposures, you can gather so much data and still stack it by quality and try to like sort of get a sharper picture that way.
Yeah, and right away, I mean, like our hard drives are going to have to get a lot bigger. But all
I
right,
actually have a tip on that. I just found this new hard drive. It's called the Crucial X9 Pro. It's this big. It's a 4 terabyte SSD, and I got it on sale for like under $200. And on my Mac, it's like I plugged it in, and I was like, "This is as fast as the internal drive." It was so good.
yeah. Well, I think that about sums it up for NEAF this year. We'll see what happens tomorrow, you know. But
Maybe
hey,
some surprises.
Nico,
Yeah. Thank you, Ben.
good talking to you, man.